San Quentin's death row inmate who predicted his own release. He had 48 hours. No one believed him. Stay with this story. What happened next changed everything about how we understand wrongful conviction. Marcus Webb sat in San Quentin's East Block death row cell on September 17, 2019, writing a letter he knew would sound insane. In 48 hours, I will walk out of here a free man. Not because of my appeals. Not because of my lawyers. Because someone is about to confess to a murder I've been sentenced to die for. He addressed it to Warden Ron Davis. Sealed it. Handed it to a correctional officer during mail call at 2:15 p.m. The officer glanced at the envelope, shrugged, and added it to the outgoing stack. Marcus had been on death row for 11 years. Convicted in 2008 for the murder of Daniel Hartman, a convenience store owner shot during a robbery in Oakland. The prosecution's case was built on 3 pieces of evidence: Marcus's fingerprints on the store's door, a witness who placed him near the scene, and his own inconsistent alibi. He'd maintained his innocence from the beginning, but so did everyone on death row. By September 2019, his appeals were exhausted. His execution date was set for January 14, 2020. 4 months away. Marcus had spent those 11 years doing what few death row inmates did. He studied law, read case files, corresponded with innocence advocates, analyzed his own trial transcripts looking for errors. He found plenty of mistakes, none big enough to overturn his conviction. But 2 weeks before he wrote that letter, something changed. On September 3rd, Marcus received a magazine in his cell. Prison-approved reading material. An article about wrongful convictions caught his attention. It profiled a man named Anthony Cisco who'd confessed to 3 murders he'd committed in the early 2000s, crimes other men had been convicted of. Marcus studied Cisco's photo. Something about the case details felt familiar. On September 9th, Marcus requested access to the law library. He pulled his trial transcripts, compared them to the public details of Cisco's confessions. The pattern emerged slowly. All 3 of Cisco's victims were killed in similar ways. Single gunshot, robbery motive, small businesses in Oakland, 2006 to 2007. Daniel Hartman was killed in 2007. Single gunshot, robbery, small business, Oakland. But Cisco had never been charged in Hartman's death. Marcus made a formal request to his appellate attorney on September 11th. Look into Anthony Cisco. I think he killed Daniel Hartman. His attorney's response came 3 days later. There's no evidence connecting Cisco to your case. Focus on the appeals we're already pursuing. Marcus didn't stop. He contacted the Northern California Innocence Project on September 15th, explained his theory, asked them to investigate. They told him they'd look into it, but their caseload was overwhelming. That's when Marcus wrote the letter to the warden. Because on September 16th, 1 day before he mailed it, Marcus received something that changed everything. A newspaper clipping, sent anonymously, no return address. It was a brief article from the San Francisco Chronicle dated September 14, 2019. Convicted murderer Anthony Cisco has requested a meeting with Oakland Police Department homicide detectives. Sources say Cisco claims to have information about unsolved cases from 2006 and 2007. Marcus read it 3 times. Cisco was ready to talk. And Marcus knew, somehow with absolute certainty, that in 48 hours, the truth would surface. Warden Davis received Marcus's letter on September 18th at 9:47 a.m. He read it in his office, door closed, coffee cooling on his desk. In 48 hours, I will walk out of here a free man. Davis had been warden at San Quentin for 6 years. He'd read thousands of letters from inmates claiming innocence, demanding justice, predicting miracles. This one felt different. Not because of what it said, because of when it arrived. At 10:15 a.m., Davis received a call from the California Attorney General's office. We need to talk about Marcus Webb. Davis felt his chest tighten. What about him? There's been a development. Anthony Cisco gave a confession yesterday to Oakland PD. He's claiming responsibility for 14 murders between 2005 and 2009. One of them matches the details of Daniel Hartman's death. Davis looked down at Marcus's letter, written before Cisco's confession became public, before anyone outside law enforcement knew. How did Webb know? Davis asked. That's what we're trying to figure out. At 2:30 p.m. on September 18th, Marcus was escorted from his cell to a private meeting room. His appellate attorney was there. So was an investigator from the Attorney General's office. We need to know how you knew about Cisco's confession, the investigator said. Marcus looked confused. What confession? Yesterday, Anthony Cisco confessed to killing Daniel Hartman. You wrote a letter predicting your release 48 hours before that confession became public knowledge. Marcus shook his head slowly. I didn't know about any confession. I made an educated guess based on research. Research? Marcus explained everything. The magazine article, the pattern, the timeline. The investigator took notes. And the newspaper clipping you received on September 16th? It said Cisco wanted to talk to police. It didn't say he'd already confessed. The investigator leaned back. Cisco met with detectives on September 17th, 12 hours after your letter was written. His confession included details about Hartman's murder that were never made public, details that matched the crime scene. Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in 11 years. So what happens now? We verify everything. Cross-reference Cisco's confession with the physical evidence. If it holds up, the Attorney General will recommend your conviction be vacated. Marcus's hands started shaking. How long will that take? The investigator checked his watch. If everything checks out, you could be released within 72 hours. Marcus had predicted 48. He was off by a day. At 4:17 p.m., investigators pulled the evidence from Marcus Webb's 2008 trial. Ballistics, crime scene photos, witness statements, and one piece of evidence that had been stored but never tested, DNA under Daniel Hartman's fingernails. Technology in 2008 hadn't been advanced enough to extract a usable profile. In 2019 it was. The lab rushed the analysis. But when they checked the DNA results against both Marcus Webb and Anthony Cisco, everything changed. The DNA matched neither of them. It belonged to someone who wasn't in the system. And that made no sense. On September 19th at 8:42 a.m., the lab results landed on Assistant District Attorney Karen Pierce's desk. She read them twice. Anthony Cisco's confession to killing Daniel Hartman was detailed. Specific. He described the layout of the store, the location of the cash register, the time of night. All accurate. But the DNA under Hartman's fingernails, evidence of a struggle, didn't match Cisco. It also didn't match Marcus Webb. Pierce called the lead detective from the original 2008 investigation. Michael Rourke had retired in 2015, but he still lived in Oakland. We have a problem, Pierce said. She explained the DNA results. Rourke was quiet for a long moment. Cisco confessed? Yes. With details only the killer would know. Then the DNA is contamination. Or it's from someone else who was in the store that day. Hartman was killed after closing. The store was empty. And this DNA was under his fingernails. Defensive wounds suggest he grabbed his attacker. Rourke's voice hardened. I worked that case for 8 months. Marcus Webb was guilty. The evidence was solid. What evidence? His prints on the door. The witness who saw him running from the scene. His changing story about where he was that night. Pierce pulled up the trial transcripts on her computer. The prints were on the exterior door handle. Webb admitted he'd been to that store before. He lived 3 blocks away. The witness identified him from a photo array 2 weeks after the murder. She was 60 feet away. At night, she saw someone running, not someone's face. His alibi fell apart under cross-examination. Because he said he was home alone watching TV and couldn't prove it. That's not the same as evidence of guilt. Rourke exhaled slowly. So what are you saying? I'm saying we convicted the wrong man. And now we have a confession from someone else, but the DNA doesn't match either of them. Then who does it match? That's what we need to find out. At 11:20 a.m., investigators ran the unknown DNA profile through every database available. CODIs, state databases, Familial DNA searches. Nothing. At 1:15 p.m., they brought Anthony Cisco in for questioning. Cisco was serving life without parole at Pelican Bay for 3 confirmed murders. He was 47 years old. Articulate. Cooperative. Detective James Ortiz sat across from him in the interview room. "Tell me about Daniel Hartman." Cisco nodded. September 12, 2007. Around 10:30 p.m. I needed cash. His store was still lit up even though the sign said closed. I went to the door, but knocked. He came to let me out, thought I was locked inside. When he opened the door, I pulled my gun. What kind of gun? .38 revolver. Same one I used in the Daly City murder 3 months later. That detail hadn't been public. The ballistics matched. What happened after you pulled the gun? He tried to fight me, grabbed my arm. I shoved him back. He fell, hit his head on the counter. Then he came at me again. That's when I shot him. Where did you shoot him? Left side. He went down. I grabbed what I could from the register and ran. Every detail matched the crime scene. Did anyone else go in with you? No. I worked alone. Did you touch him? Did he touch you? Cisco paused. He grabbed my jacket when he tried to stop me. But I don't think he scratched me. Ortiz leaned forward. We found DNA under his fingernails. It doesn't match you. Cisco's expression didn't change. Then it's not from that night. Maybe from earlier in the day. Maybe someone he had an argument with. The DNA was isolated from blood and skin cells. Defensive wounds. Fresh. Then I don't know what to tell you. I killed Daniel Hartman. I'm confessing to it. Whether the DNA matches or not doesn't change what I did. At 3:47 p.m., Pierce met with Marcus Webb's appellate attorney, David Chin. Cisco's confession is credible, Pierce said, but we have a DNA problem. Chen had been preparing for Marcus's release. Now his face showed confusion. What kind of problem? Pierce explained. Chen processed it slowly. So you have a confession that matches the crime, but physical evidence that suggests a third person was involved? Exactly. What about the possibility that Hartman fought with someone earlier that day? Or that the DNA is old contamination? We're checking Hartman's activities that day, but the DNA came from fresh biological material, and it was found during the original autopsy. It's been in sealed evidence for 11 years. Chen leaned back. So what does this mean for Marcus? It means we can't release him yet. Not until we know who that DNA belongs to. He's been on death row for 11 years for a crime another man just confessed to. I understand that. But if there was a third person involved, if this was a conspiracy or if Marcus was there, we need to know before we vacate his conviction. You're saying you think Marcus might still be guilty? I'm saying the evidence is contradictory. And until we resolve it, we can't act. At 5:30 p.m., Marcus Webb was informed of the delay. He sat in the same interview room where he'd been told he might be released. Now David Chin was explaining why he wouldn't be. Cisco confessed. The details match. But there's DNA evidence that complicates things. Marcus's face went pale. What DNA? Under Hartman's fingernails. It doesn't match you. It doesn't match Cisco. They need to identify who it belongs to. How long will that take? I don't know. Marcus felt 48 hours slipping away. His prediction was falling apart. I didn't kill him, Marcus said quietly. I've been saying that for 11 years. I know. Cisco confessed. I know. Then why am I still here? Chen had no answer. At 8:15 p.m., Detective Rourke called Pierce back. I've been thinking about that DNA. And? What if it's not from the killer? What if it's from someone who tried to help Hartman after he was shot? Pierce considered it. The coroner's report said Hartman died within minutes. There were no witnesses who reported finding him or calling 911. That we know of. But what if someone saw what happened, went inside after the shooter left, tried to help, then panicked and ran? Why wouldn't they call the police? Fear. Warrants. Immigration status. Any number of reasons. Pierce pulled up the original case file. The 911 call came in at 10:47 p.m. from a payphone 3 blocks away. Anonymous caller, male voice, said there was a body in the convenience store and hung up. Did you ever identify the caller? No. We assumed it was the killer calling it in anonymously. What if it wasn't? Pierce felt something shift. Pull the 911 recording. At 9:30 p.m., they listened to it. A young male voice. Nervous. There's someone hurt at the store on Martin Luther King and 45th. I think he's dead. Please send someone. What's your name, sir? The call ended. Pierce played it again. He said, I think he's dead. Not, I killed him. He sounded like he was reporting it, not confessing. Rourke nodded slowly. So maybe there was someone else there. Someone who witnessed it or found the body. And left DNA behind when they tried to help. Can we trace the 911 call? It was from a payphone. September 2007. No surveillance cameras in that area. The phone was removed years ago. They sat in silence. Somewhere out there was a person who might have witnessed Daniel Hartman's murder. A person whose DNA was under the victim's fingernails. A person who'd stayed silent for 12 years. At 11:45 p.m. on September 19th, Pierce made a decision. She drafted a press release. The San Mateo County District Attorney's Office is seeking information about a potential witness to the 2007 murder of Daniel Hartman. Anyone who was in or near the convenience store at Martin Luther King Boulevard and 45th Street on the night of September 12, 2007, is urged to contact investigators. This individual is not considered a suspect. The release went out at midnight. By 6 a.m. on September 20th, it was picked up by every news outlet in the Bay Area. Marcus Webb's name was mentioned. So was Anthony Sisko's confession. And the mystery of the unidentified DNA. At 7:30 a.m., the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office received a call. A woman, mid-30s, crying. I know whose DNA that is. It's my brother's. He was there that night. He tried to help that man. He's been terrified ever since. The detective took down her information. We need to speak with your brother. He's scared. He thought if he came forward, he'd be arrested. He's not a suspect. We just need to understand what he saw. Silence. Then, his name is David Ortega. He'll meet you. But he needs immunity. From what? He had warrants. That's why he didn't call the police from the store. At 9:15 a.m., David Ortega sat in an interview room. 29 years old. Shaking. I was walking home from work. I saw someone run out of the store. I thought maybe there was a robbery. I went to check if the owner was okay. What did you see? He was on the floor, bleeding. I tried to help him. I pressed on the wound, but he wasn't breathing. There was so much blood. I panicked. I ran. I called 911 from a payphone. Why didn't you stay? David's voice broke. I had 2 outstanding warrants. I was terrified. I thought if I stayed, I'd go to jail. I thought they'd blame me. Did you see who shot him? Someone running. That's all. I didn't see a face. Would you recognize them if you saw them again? No. Detective Ortiz showed him a photo of Marcus Webb. Is this the person you saw running? David studied it, shook his head. I don't know. It was dark. I barely saw anything. And when they showed him a photo of Anthony Sisko, David Ortega went completely still. His hands started trembling, and he said 4 words that changed everything. That's not who ran. David Ortega pointed to the photo of Anthony Sisko. That man is too old. The person I saw running was younger, thinner, maybe late teens, early 20s. Detective Ortiz felt his pulse quicken. You're certain? I only saw him for a second, but yet, he was young. Ortiz pulled up a photo of Marcus Webb from 2007. 23 years old. Thin build. What about this person? David studied it carefully. Maybe. I can't say for sure. But the age is right. At 10:47 a.m., Anthony Sisko was brought back to the interview room. Pierce sat across from him. No pleasantries this time. Why are you confessing to a murder you didn't commit? Cisco's calm demeanor didn't waver. "I did commit it. You gave us accurate details about the crime scene, about the weapon, about the timing. But there's a problem. The DNA. Yes. And now we have a witness who saw the shooter run from the scene. He says the person was in their early 20s. You were 35 in 2007. Cisco leaned back. Witnesses are unreliable. It was dark. He was scared. So why confess? For the first time, Cisco's expression shifted. Something almost like sadness crossed his face. Because Marcus Webb is innocent. And he's going to die for something he didn't do. Pierce felt the air leave the room. You know Marcus Webb? No. I've never met him. But I read about his case. I saw his execution date. And I couldn't let it happen. So you're confessing to save him? I'm confessing because I've killed 14 people. Adding one more to the list doesn't change my sentence. I'm already serving life without parole. But Marcus Webb is on death row for a crime he didn't commit. Then who did kill Daniel Hartman? Cisco shook his head. I don't know. But it wasn't Marcus. And it wasn't me. Pierce stood up, walked to the corner of the room, turned back. Why would you do this? Why confess to something you didn't do? Because the system is broken. And sometimes the only way to fix it is to break it more. At 1:30 p.m., the investigative team assembled in Pierce's office. Cisco's confession is false, Pierce said. He's trying to create reasonable doubt for Webb. But his details were accurate, Rourke said. He studied the case. Webb's trial transcripts are public record. The crime scene photos were shown in court. Cisco had access to everything he needed to make a convincing confession. Detective Ortiz pulled up the ballistics report. Cisco said he used a .38 revolver. That matches the murder weapon. Which was never recovered, Pierce countered. That detail was in the trial transcripts. Cisco could have read it. Chin, Marcus's attorney, had been allowed in the meeting. So what are you saying? That Marcus is still guilty? I'm saying we don't know who killed Daniel Hartman. But it wasn't Anthony Cisco. And the DNA evidence suggests Marcus wasn't alone, if he was there at all. What about David Ortega's testimony? He can't identify Marcus. He also can't rule him out. The room fell silent. Rourke spoke carefully. What if we're looking at this wrong? Everyone turned. What if Marcus really is innocent? What if the DNA belongs to the actual killer, and Marcus was convicted on circumstantial evidence that had nothing to do with the murder? Pierce sat down slowly. Go on. Marcus's prints were on the door. But he lived nearby and shopped there. The witness saw someone running, but in the dark, from a distance. The alibi fell apart because he was home alone. None of that proves he killed Hartman. Then who did? Someone who's never been investigated. Someone whose DNA is in the system now, but wasn't in 2007. Someone who got away because we stopped looking once we arrested Marcus. At 3:15 p.m., they ran the DNA profile through updated databases. Familial searches. Genealogy databases. Expanded parameters. At 4:02 p.m., they got a hit. A partial match in a genealogy database. Close enough to suggest a family member. The match led to a woman named Patricia Vance. She'd uploaded her DNA to an ancestry website in 2018. Investigators built a family tree. Patricia had a son, born in 1985, Eric Vance. At 5:30 p.m., they pulled Eric Vance's records. 2 arrests in 2009 for armed robbery. Served 4 years. Released in 2013. Currently living in Sacramento. Working construction. No contact with law enforcement since his release. His last known address was in Oakland in 2007. 3 blocks from the convenience store where Daniel Hartman was killed. At 6:45 p.m., Sacramento PD brought Eric Vance in for questioning. He was 34 years old now. Nervous. Confused. What's this about? Detective Ortiz placed a photo on the table. Daniel Hartman's crime scene. Do you remember this? Eric's face went white. He didn't answer. We have your DNA, Eric. It was under the victim's fingernails. We know you were there. Eric's hands started shaking. "I want a lawyer." "You're not under arrest. But we need to know what happened." Eric stared at the photo. His breathing quickened. "I was 22. I was stupid. I needed money." "Did you kill Daniel Hartman?" Tears started running down Eric's face. "It was an accident. I just wanted the money." The gun went off. "I didn't mean to kill him." Ortiz leaned forward. "What happened after you shot him?" "I panicked. I ran. I heard someone behind me. I thought it was a witness. I just kept running." "Did you know Marcus Webb?" "No. I never heard that name until years later when I saw it in the news. I saw he was convicted. I knew it was wrong. But I was terrified. I had priors. I thought if I came forward, I'd get the death penalty." "So you let an innocent man go to death row?" Eric buried his face in his hands. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." At 8:20 p.m. on September 20th, 2019, Eric Vance was formally arrested for the murder of Daniel Hartman. At 9:15 p.m., the California Attorney General filed a motion to vacate Marcus Webb's conviction. At 11:30 p.m., Marcus was informed. He'd been in his cell, not sleeping, trying to understand how his 48-hour prediction had fallen apart. When the warden told him, Marcus didn't react at first. 11 years. 4 months from execution. And suddenly it was over. "When?" Marcus asked quietly. "The paperwork will take a few days. But you'll be released by Monday." September 23rd. 6 days after Marcus wrote his letter. Not 48 hours. But close enough. On September 23, 2019, at 2:47 p.m., Marcus Webb walked out of San Quentin State Prison. 11 years on death row for a murder he didn't commit. Freed because he predicted his own release based on a pattern he saw in a magazine article. A pattern that led to a false confession that led to the real investigation that led to the truth. The media called it a miracle. Marcus called it something else. "I didn't predict my release," he told reporters outside the prison gates. "I predicted that the truth would surface." That's different. He was asked how he knew. "I didn't know. Out. And I paid attention." Most people on death row stop paying attention. They accept that the system has decided their fate. I refused to accept it. I kept looking. I kept reading. I kept asking questions. "Do you have any message for Anthony Cisco?" Marcus paused. "He tried to save my life with a false confession. That's both beautiful and tragic. The system is so broken that a guilty man thought the only way to save an innocent man was to lie. That should terrify everyone." The warden stood at a distance, watching. He thought about Marcus's letter. Written before Cisco's confession became public. Before anyone knew. 48 hours. Marcus had been off by 6 days. But the principle was right. Sometimes the truth surfaces not because the system works, but because someone refuses to stop looking for it. Eric Vance pleaded guilty in 2020. Sentenced to 25 years to life. Anthony Cisco's false confession led to policy changes in how confessions are verified before being accepted by prosecutors. David Ortega's warrants were cleared. He testified at Vance's trial. The judge commended him for eventually coming forward despite his fear. And Marcus Webb? He became an advocate for death row inmates. He started a program teaching legal research to those still inside. He called it the 48-hour project. Because sometimes, that's all the time you have to find the pattern everyone else missed. But here's what stayed with Warden Davis. A question he never asked Marcus directly. How did Marcus know to write that letter on September 17th? Cisco's meeting with police happened on the 17th, after Marcus mailed the letter. The newspaper clipping Marcus received was dated September 14th. It mentioned Cisco wanted to talk to police. But it didn't say when. Davis pulled the prison mail logs months later. The anonymous clipping Marcus received? It was postmarked September 16th. From Sacramento, the same city where Eric Vance lived. Davis never pursued it, never told anyone. But he wondered if someone out there, maybe Eric Vance himself, had seen the news about Cisco wanting to talk to police and felt the walls closing in. If that person sent Marcus the clipping, a breadcrumb, A way to set in motion the very investigation that would eventually find them. Maybe Eric wanted to be caught. Maybe Marcus's letter wasn't a prediction. Maybe it was a response to an anonymous confession that never got sent. Davis would never know, but he kept Marcus's letter in his desk drawer. A reminder that sometimes innocence survives not because the system works, but because people refuse to stop fighting against it. This could happen again. Right now, there are people on death row making predictions, finding patterns, asking questions no one wants to answer. And some of them are right. If this story shook you, the next one will be worse.